By this time next year, half the people watching this video will be obsolete. Not because AI is getting better, but because someone else woke up one morning, looked at the same headlines you did, and made a different choice. Let's face it, you're staring at the news, asking yourself, will AI replace me? Wrong question. The real question is, will the person using AI replace me? Because the biggest threat isn't artificial intelligence. It's a person who decides today, not tomorrow, not when life calms down, not when I feel ready, today, to become sharper, faster, more disciplined, and more willing to do the work you keep postponing. AI isn't the disruption. Human ambition amplified by AI is. And if you don't match that ambition, you're not competing. You are surrendering. So while you're waiting for the right time, while you're protecting your comfort, while you're telling yourself you'll start tomorrow or next week or next month, someone else is already moving. They're getting ready, they're adapting, they're making decisions, they're taking action. Someone else, in other words, is already taking your spot, quietly, aggressively, without asking any permission at all. And before this video ends, you're going to see the exact decision that separates the people who adapt from the people who get left behind. Because Marcus made that decision too. He just waited 6 weeks too long. So let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was 34 years old. He had a good salary, made $128,000 a year, drove the black SUV, carried the mortgage, held the job title that sounded impressive enough to fool everyone, including himself. Every morning Marcus hit snooze. Not because he didn't care. Marcus, he was hardworking, but he was grinding at the wrong thing. He was grinding at looking successful, at telling himself he was making the right moves. He used all the right language. You know what I'm talking about. He's focusing on balance. He's telling himself, I'm protecting my peace. I'm being intentional. And maybe you've said some version of those things too. The phrases people use when they're trying to justify staying exactly where they are. Here's what Marcus never told anyone. The business he wanted to build lived in a desktop folder called Someday. The book he wanted to write had one paragraph in it. The skill he wanted to learn stayed on a YouTube watch list and bookmarked articles on his desktop. The woman that he wanted to meet were dating the men he kept telling himself he'd become next year. And then a promotion came up, the one he thought was his. Instead, it went to a 27-year-old named Mia, not because she was more talented, because Marcus was maintaining. Mia was executing. She got up early, learned skills nobody asked her to learn, solved problems nobody else saw coming. Marcus told himself it was politics. He made the excuse, it was just timing. It was luck. That story let him sleep at night. Then something happened to Marcus that he never expected. 6 weeks later, he sat in a company meeting. The leadership team was celebrating a project that transformed the whole business. Mia was presenting. Everyone was applauding Mia. At that moment, Marcus realized something. Mia had become the person he kept telling himself he was going to become. And this, my friends, is the reality nobody wants to talk about. Rest is meant to recharge the battery, not justify pulling the plug. There's a thin line between recovery and surrender. And too many capable people are calling their surrender protecting their peace. Let's call it exactly what it is. Avoiding discomfort isn't healing, it's hiding. Protecting the peace is just a fancy phrase for protecting weakness. Comfort culture convinced an entire generation of capable people that friction is dangerous. But discomfort isn't a red light. It's the cost of admission to high-level execution. And here's why this matters now. Because that excuse used to be free. In 2026, it's expensive. Right now, there are people using AI to compress years of learning into weeks. Not because AI makes them smarter, it does, but it makes them faster. Imagine two people. One spends 20 minutes every night using AI to sharpen skills that the other guy makes him nervous. The other spends those same 20 minutes scrolling. 42 days later, they both think they're standing on the same level. They're not. One has 6 weeks of compounding leverage. The other one has 6 weeks of brain rot. The gap between relevant and obsolete used to take a decade to open. Now it happens in 31 days. Marcus learned that on a Tuesday at 9:14 a.m. A single Slack notification flashed across his screen. Company-wide restructuring, said the message. Half his division was wiped out in 45 seconds. Not because they lacked talent, but because they were operating at 2018 speed in a world moving at 10 times that speed. The people who kept their jobs weren't smarter. They just refused to get comfortable. That was a divide. A clear line split the room into two groups, the people who adapt and the people who get replaced. Marcus looked at his career, looked at his numbers, and realized he had been marching toward the wrong side of a line for too long. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Open whatever AI tool you already have on your phone. Maybe it's a tablet or a PC. And type this exact prompt. Act as a blunt, no-nonsense mentor. Using the information I give you about my skills and goals, tell me one uncomfortable, high-level action I should take this week. Make it specific, make it challenging, explain why someone like me would avoid it, and show me how my life could improve if I stop avoiding it. That's it. No vision board, no motivational quotes, one uncomfortable action, and you'll get one honest answer. Marcus used the prompt I just gave you. The answer he got wasn't glamorous, it wasn't exciting, it wasn't comfortable. For months, he woke up early and built the skills he'd been avoiding. No dramatic montage, no viral success story, just repeated discomfort. 8 weeks later, his online side hustle was generated more income than the job that nearly let him go. That's the real ending. Not that he became fearless, he just stopped calling fear balance, and he stopped calling avoidance peace. How do I know this gap is real? Because I've spent my life in environments that don't care one bit about excuses. The military, the courtroom. They're different rules, but the same patterns. The people who I noticed that got left behind usually weren't the ones that were less capable. They were just comfortable one day too long. And in a fast-moving world, that's all it takes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe comfort isn't the enemy. Maybe discipline is overrated. I don't think so. But maybe adaptation doesn't matter. You tell me in the comments. What's the bigger threat as we're now, more than halfway through 2026? Is it AI or people's willingness to stay comfortable while everyone else adapts? And if somebody comes to mind while you're watching this, the friend who keeps saying, I'm going to start, I'm going to launch, I'm going to take action, I'm going to learn that skill, nothing's going to stop me, I'm going to get serious next month, next week, the next day. Send this to them. Not because they need motivation, not because they're not intelligent enough, because they need a deadline. And if you're the one who's been waiting, I wrote something specifically for you. I put some of my most important thoughts that I've learned about escaping average into a free ebook called Freedom from Average. There's no catch. The link is in the description. Read it and run the prompt I just gave you. Take the uncomfortable action and see what happens. AI isn't coming for your future. Comfort is. And I'm not saying that from a pedestal. I'm saying it because I've lived it. I know what average feels like. I know how difficult it is to take action sometimes. I know how uncomfortable it can be to do that. Comfort isn't the problem. Nobody chooses average. They choose comfort, and then comfort chooses average for them. I've done it. Maybe you have too. But the people pulling ahead in 2026, and remember, 2027 is right around the corner, aren't necessarily smarter. They're just willing to stay uncomfortable longer. I'm working on that. If you are too, I'll see you in the next video.